Hello, JG Bricks. Hello. Sorry for this is taking so long, but here we are, finally doing the critique of The Adventures of Lego Spider-Man Season 1, Episode 1, Carnage Attack. Now, I actually did watch this prior to reviewing it, mostly because I wanted to kind of like get my thoughts in order, so I didn't spend like 30 minutes rambling.
Also known as
But essentially, what I think of this video is that for the first 3 or so minutes before Carnage, or the first 2.5 minutes before Carnage shows up, I think that there's a little bit too much dialogue here. Now, I know it's your Season 1, Episode 1, but let's just listen to some of it.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Hello, my name is Peter Parker, also known as your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And 1 year ago, I was bitten by a radioactive spider, and ever since that, I have been known as the Amazing Spider-Man.
Oops.
Who the hell are you
So I think one of the issues here is that
My name is Peter
when you have
Parker,
dialogue like
also known
this is mostly called exposition, right? And it's essentially when like a character in the story tells the audience they tell a lot of information quickly to another character or to the audience for the sake of getting a lot of info out so people can understand what's going on. But I think in this character in particular, I feel like you don't really have to explain it because I think everybody knows who the character is at this point. But if you still want to go with the route of explaining it, instead of having the character himself stand on top of this bridge and explain what happened, you should show it. You should show it via like a flashback. You can still have his narration, but while he's talking, you can have the events on screen mimic what's going on with his voiceover. Like you can have like a flashback of when all this happened, when he got bitten, when he became a spider,
Spider-Man.
and stuff like that.
Ago, I was bitten by a radioactive spider.
I think one of my issues though is that it's essentially just him moving his arms back and forth, and then him doing this. But there's not a real lot of acting. I don't think like his body doesn't move in accordance to what he's saying. Like say for example when he says right here,
I've been known as
when he says I've been known as, his body is still moving even though he takes pauses in his dialogue. So when you do that, you kind of get the impression that both like the character, like the figure himself, the character on screen is a little bit not necessarily attached to the voiceover itself. You know, you kind of really want to make sure that all of his body movements and his dialogue kind of sync up. So like right here when he says
Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man,
like when he moves back like that, that's pretty good because he kind of exclaims it pretty loudly and proudly who he is. So it makes sense that he kind of moves back like that. It's it's kind of what you want to go for more. But sometimes when he's kind of just moving his arms up and down, despite what he's saying, it kind of makes it hard to believe that there's like an attachment between the character and the voice itself.
Spider-Man, and 1 year ago, I was bitten by a radioactive spider, and ever since that, I've been known as.
Also, I think it's just the fact that his movements are a bit too equal. So look at this, for example. I say this a lot in my videos about it all being about the arc and stuff, as well as momentum is important. So the thing about having the same exact amount of movement in each frame here is that you don't really get a sense of speed or momentum. You kind of just get a sense of him slowly lifting up his arm up and down.
Who the hell are you
and that combined with not having different camera angles can be a little bit alienating to a viewer.
I'm just narrating, dude.
Because essentially it feels like we're watching the same thing over and over again with dialogue.
Wait, how long have you
And if we already know the story of Spider-Man, it might be a bit alienating, like I said before. We might lose a bit of an audience with that.
Yeah, you said you were Peter Parker. No one can know my
This bit I think
identity.
is funny though.
Are you going to kill me?
This whole bit about this guy who overheard the entire story by mistake. So I think that's kind of a funny way to flip the whole exposition thing on its head. And I think you can make it even better if you simply just move the camera a bit more. If you had more cuts, if you can get more of an idea of what the setting itself looks like. I'm assuming this is the bridge, the famous bridge set. So there's a lot you can work with here. You can get like a higher angle. You can kind of like put the camera above the whole set, like kind of like this, so that way you can kind of get like more of a bird's eye view angle, right? Because you have a lot to work with on the ground. You have the whole bridge setting to work with, so there can be a lot you can do with that. Maybe I'd zoom in the camera a bit more because you can see a bit of blue that is messing with the black here, which makes me think that there might be it's kind of confusing, right? Like, because I'm not sure if it takes place in the night or the day. I'm assuming it takes place in the night because I'm getting a call because the black overtakes most of the background of the set, right? But this tiny bit of blue here can kind of mess with that. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. But yeah. So I just think with something like this, with a scene like this, what you want to have is your characters' dialogue and actions be more in sync with each other, and you want to have more camera angles to sort of refresh the viewer and their eyes on what they're looking at. And maybe, you want to cut this out of the frame, so you want to zoom in a bit more, make the shot a bit tighter, so that way people don't get confused on what time of day it is. But anyways, moving on to this scene here. Again, I think this is a fine scene right here, right? So this is good because you explain what's going on with the story, with what's going on with the symbiote here, what's going on with Carnage, and how he actually even gets loose. But my issue here is that this all takes place in the same sort of camera angle. We don't ever see these scientists' faces. We know what their bodies look like, and we know what their hair looks like. But what worries me is that if these guys come back later, how would we know what they look like? You need to be able to get varying camera angles. Otherwise, it sort of doesn't necessarily feel like a I guess like a I don't know what word I'm looking for exactly, but having multiple camera angles, especially when we get to see the characters' faces up close and personal, it makes us feel a little bit more attached to the characters. It makes the story feel more immersive, and it makes it feel like the world is more lived in. I'm assuming maybe you don't have that many like bricks here to work with because this is a very small set, and a lot of the colors are kind of mismatched. So maybe that's a limitation that you might have that I'm not taking into account. So maybe that's why you might not have done that. But in that case, I'd say it's important that you're able to remove walls in your setting. I do that all the time, right? If I have like to put a camera in a precarious part of the set, I sometimes will take down a wall so that way I have space for the camera to put in there. So for example, if you want to get a shot like this, you might have to take away the box here and these pillars and this back wall here, so that way you can get a shot of these characters' faces, and then you want to rotate the set. Or you might just want to build the orientation more so that way it allows your camera to more easily maneuver around the set. Like say for example, you might want to build it from side to side like you do around here. Like this is a set that's built from side to side, right? So we get a lot of side profiles here. But here we have it built from back to front. So that's a little bit trickier to work with, especially if you want to get the character's eyes or faces. Now it works. This camera angle actually would work too. If it had more variation with the rest of the scene, because we do get a nice shot of this empty box here with the Carnage spread on it.
Searching for a host.
This bit I thought was also funny as well.
Boss is going to kill us.
This whole bit about like let's just lie about it.
Give us $1 million to experiment on alien symbiotes.
And the voice acting is pretty nice too.
Like
there's a lot of like a panic.
Put a drop of water on it.
And
yes,
this sly plan to spill a drop of water on it to just kind of get away with their horrible misdeed.
I'm wasting my time.
This is also a funny bit, like, cause this kind of like comes full circle with the last scene of Spider-Man, wasn't it? Cause like this guy heard and now he tied him up.
Wait, my spider sense is tingling.
This is pretty, and so this is nice that we get a brand new set to work with. It's very important that you want to. The thing about making films and stuff is that it's very important that you give your audience a real sense of the space and the geography to work with. You really want to have a lot of angles in your sets because it's important that your characters feel like they're in a very lived-in and immersive environment. Excuse me, I gotta sneeze. Sorry about that. It's like I was saying, it's very important that your characters feel like they live in a very lived-in universe, a very big environment. If you don't have a lot of space to work with, you still want to use as much of your scenery as possible by using different angles and by using different camera techniques. Anyway, let's move on.
I just escaped from jail, and now I want to commit a crime. What the hell is that weird red stuff coming from the sewer? Oh no.
This angle is pretty fine for the most part, honestly. In fact, it's actually so it's this particular angle is very encapsulating in terms of everything that it can see, right? So normally I'd say, oh, you want to diversify your camera angles, but in a sense like this, I think this whole angle as a whole, this one sequence here, makes a lot of sense. And one of the reasons why it works better than the previous ones is because there's a lot more movement, in particular right here with the Carnage symbiote coming out of the grate and onto this guy. This is well framed. The fact that you can see it all happening in real time is pretty nice. You can have, of course, variations of how you choose to shoot a scene like that, right? You can have like a close-up shot of the Grey and the Carnage thing coming out, and then you can have it slowly track the Carnage symbiote onto Cletus, and then you can have like a very dramatic, like, you know, sort of like suit-up sequence. But this is also pretty nice, you know, especially because I'm assuming this is more going for like a jokey feel vibe, so you don't really need to have that crazy dramaticism. Anyways, he swings down. Whee!
Stop right there, you weird red creature. Leave me alone, you bug freak.
I'm assuming that's Dr. Connors because he doesn't have a hand.
Freak.
And
Look at yourself, dude.
Matt Murdock?
Ugh, shut up!
That's Indiana Jones. But one thing I want to say is that the characters in the background should be moving, you know? Like I said earlier, you want to feel like your characters are in the very lived-in universe. And it's kind of difficult to do that when the characters in the background are kind of like statues. They don't really feel like... it doesn't really feel like people who live in a city. They kind of just feel like onlookers.
You like a bug, Spider-Man? Whoa, what are you doing? Ah!
Okay, so to get into some more animation critiquing here, so in this particular setting here, there's not a lot of weight, it feels like, to these characters' movements. And I think it's the same issue that's been going on throughout the rest of the Brick film as well, is that you take too many frames in the middle here, you know? So when you take too many frames, when every frame has the exact same amount of movement as the previous one, you don't get a sense of speed. You kind of get everybody looking like they're moving in slow motion. So the camera movement here is actually pretty nice too, though.
Spider-Man.
But like I said earlier, though, you really want to feel like there's more weight and slow down towards the beginning and ending of a movement, like boom, you know? Like, look how much I kind of like slow down here, and then really quickly I just put my hands down. I explained this more in my video of my web swinging tutorial, so if you haven't seen that yet, I think you should give it a watch. But here also in particular, when he throws him, I don't think Carnage moves back enough. And plus, you only move his legs. You want to move his arms too, right? You want to feel like he's putting his entire body weight behind the swing, behind the sort of whip in this particular case. And then Spider-Man moves straight onwards, when in reality, it'd be more like an arc, you know? He'd be like moving, he'd be like flying, you know, like pew, instead of just straight on. So that kind of... I feel like that kind of robs the animation a sense of, like, a real sense of weight and power to the movements. I like this bit here, though. This bit is funny.
Nah, dude, I just came here for some pizza. Bye.
Bye. And he just leaves.
I am not having a good day today.
The classic Spider-Man can never have a good day.
You missed. I will kill you, Spider-Man. No, you won't. Arg!
Arg!
Thank God that nightmare is over. Oh no, the symbiote is latching onto me. Ah!
And this is, okay, so like I said earlier, right? So this is a diversified camera angle. Now...
Oh no, the symbiote is latching onto me.
Now, for the most part, this camera angle is just this camera angle, but closer to Spider-Man, right? Because it's the same sort of, like, view. It's the same sort of diagonal, like, 3/4 kind of view. So... You can have a different kind of a look to it if you kind of put the camera more directly in front of Spider-Man. So, for example, this is like a 3/4 view, right? And then what you do in this particular sense is that you kind of put the camera a little bit closer. And although the camera is closer, making the camera more dramatic and different, it still is the same point of view that we got from the previous shot. So, a way you can diversify is you can put it higher, you can put it right in front. You can kind of make it like a low angle shot. There's a lot of different ways you can place the camera that will really feel like we're getting more of a sense of the environment and scale of the world that you're convincing people to be in.
Spider-Man, you really thought me, the great Carnage, would go down that easy? No, but now I'm more powerful. I will kill you,
I like the little jump. It's a nice little jump.
I think you mean that I will kill you? Yeah, that's exactly what I said. No, I meant me. Spider-Man will kill him.
There's a lot of light flicker, but light flicker is one of those really tricky things that's kind of... There's so much science that goes into it. It's honestly impossible to just explain really quickly and critique.
It was too easy.
Again, with the punch here though, right, is that the issue is, although he does ease in, he eases into it, you know, he moves back. There's just isn't... You take too many frames. That's it. That's really just the reality of it. You want to take less frames in the middle of the movements. So we don't need this frame or this frame or this frame or this. Well, see, so here we have a lot bigger. We have a much bigger movement, but all the movements that came before it still kind of robbed it of its power and impact. And even here, so Carnage, it's like I'm not trying to like really like, you know, like spoil your day. I'm sorry if this seems very negative, because I do think the video itself is funny and the adventure itself is interesting, but I just think the animation itself kind of he gets down on the ground first. He makes sure that his body is on the ground, and then he slides away.
Ow, that hurts.
So in that particular sense, you kind of just want him to be blasted away instantly. You know, there's no time for him to just peacefully lay down on the ground. You're gonna have to do some masking, brother.
Hey, Spider-Man.
Ghost Rider comes in.
Hey,
I like this sequence here. This was a cool sequence when he ties the whip around him.
Who the hell are you? I'm the Ghost Rider.
He's the Ghost Rider.
What are you doing? I'm taking you for a ride, dude.
This is funny. You got a lot of diversified camera angles right there in that little sequence. That's 1, 2. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get the whole thing. You wanna think like that more often.
Cool, dude.
That was also a really cool ending shot right there with the web. But yeah, for the most part, that's really all I gotta say. Is just with the critiquing, is just I suggest you diversify your camera angles a lot more. You need to learn more about momentum, because although the animation is technically smooth, smooth animation doesn't always mean power and impact. And when you're going for action, you really want to focus on power and impact. And you can still be smooth with that. You just need to cut down a lot of the frames, and maybe, you know, add some ambience to the background. You know, make the city noises. There's a lot of good city ambiences on YouTube you can find. You know, like ASMR in the background to mix in with the environment, so that way the environment itself can feel a lot more alive. Because I think the main issue here is that the environment itself doesn't feel very lived in. The characters in the background don't really move. There's not a lot of camera angles that show off the geography of the set, and the sound is important. You want to have stuff like birds chirping, cars going, like subway streetcars also doing that skidding stuff. There's a lot of great ASMR like city compilations that you can look up that I think would also really increase the power of the animation. This is a good bit. I like the voice acting. I think the voice acting is fine. It's fun. I kind of like the voice he gives Spider-Man.
Dude, but don't tell
he sounds like a normal guy, like, hey dude. It's kind of funny. The bits are pretty good. And overall, I think you know, like if just the animation was a little bit tighter and there was more camera angles, I think this could be a lot stronger. But you know, I hope this was helpful. I hope this wasn't like I hope it didn't. I hope I didn't make it seem like I hated this, because I didn't hate this. This was a fun watch. I just think there are things that can make it even better, and I hope you take this to heart. And I hope a lot of these criticisms made sense. And I hope that you can grow and learn from this. Anyways, I'm sorry this took so long, but thank you very much for being patient, and I'll send it to you soon.